Have you ever been jolted awake by a rooster crowing long before sunrise, and wondered how that bird seemed to know exactly when morning was on the way? In the stillness of early dawn, when the world feels paused and quiet, that sharp, confident call cuts through everything. It sounds deliberate, almost ceremonial, like an announcement that a new day has officially begun. Most of us grow up believing the same simple explanation. The sun starts to rise, the light hits the rooster's eyes, and it crows. End of story. But that neat explanation doesn't quite hold up when you start paying closer attention. Roosters crow when it's still dark. They crow on cloudy days. They crow in barns with artificial lights. And sometimes they crow just because another rooster crowed first. So what's really going on here? Why do roosters crow in the morning, and why does it feel so perfectly timed? Today, we're peeling back the layers of this everyday mystery and uncovering the deeper biological, social, and evolutionary reasons behind one of the most iconic sounds in human history. To understand why roosters crow, you first have to understand that crowing is not just noise. It's a carefully evolved behavior rooted in anatomy. Roosters produce sound using a specialized vocal organ called the syrinx, which sits at the base of the trachea where the windpipe splits toward the lungs. Unlike the human voice box, the syrinx allows birds to control sound with remarkable precision. By adjusting airflow and muscle tension, a rooster can generate that loud, piercing crow that carries across fields and over long distances. This isn't accidental. The crow is designed to be heard. It's meant to travel far, cut through background noise, and announce presence clearly. Every rooster, regardless of breed, shares this basic biological equipment, which is why the crow is such a universal feature across cultures and environments. But anatomy only explains how a rooster crows, not why it chooses to do so at such specific times. One of the biggest misconceptions about rooster crowing is that it's a simple reaction to the sunrise. In reality, roosters operate on an internal timekeeping system known as a circadian rhythm. Like humans, chickens have an internal biological clock that runs on a roughly 24-hour cycle. This clock regulates sleep, wakefulness, hormone release, and activity levels. Light plays a role in synchronizing this clock, but the clock itself exists independently of immediate environmental cues. Scientists have shown that even when roosters are kept in constant darkness, they still crow at predictable times that align with their internal sense of morning. In other words, the rooster doesn't need to see the sun to know that dawn is approaching. Its body already knows. Hormones begin shifting hours before sunrise, alertness increases, and the urge to crow builds as part of this internal schedule. This is why roosters often crow before the first hint of daylight appears. Their bodies are anticipating morning rather than responding to it. As night transitions toward day, subtle changes occur inside the rooster's brain and endocrine system. Levels of melatonin, the hormone associated with sleep, begin to drop. At the same time, activity-promoting hormones rise. This internal shift primes the rooster for action. Crowing becomes one of the first outward signs that this transition is underway. To a human ear, it sounds like the rooster is reacting to dawn, but in reality, it's announcing a change that has already begun inside its body. Hormones play an especially important role in shaping this behavior, particularly testosterone. Roosters don't crow from the moment they hatch. Young male chicks grow silently at first, gradually developing the physical structures and hormonal balance needed for crowing. As they mature, testosterone levels increase, triggering changes in behavior, posture, and vocalization. Early attempts at crowing are often awkward and incomplete, sounding more like squeaks or broken calls. Over time, as hormone levels stabilize and muscles strengthen, the crow becomes louder, longer, and more confident. This hormonal influence also explains why some roosters crow more frequently than others. A dominant rooster with higher testosterone levels is more likely to crow boldly and often, especially during key moments like early morning. Crowing is also deeply tied to social structure. Chickens live in groups with clearly defined hierarchies, often referred to as the pecking order. Within this system, roosters use crowing as a way to assert dominance and establish territory. Morning is a critical time for this kind of communication. As the flock transitions from rest to activity, boundaries are reestablished and social roles are reinforced. The first rooster to crow in the morning often holds the highest rank. By crowing early, it sends a message to other roosters in the area, signaling strength, presence, and control. This reduces the need for physical confrontation later in the day. In many cases, rival roosters will respond with their own crows, creating a kind of vocal exchange that maps out territory without a single feather being disturbed. Each rooster's crow is slightly different, shaped by body size, lung capacity, and muscle control. Chickens are capable of recognizing individual crows, allowing them to identify who is calling and where they are. This means crowing functions as a long-distance name and address system. In the early morning, when visibility is low and movement is minimal, sound becomes the most effective way to communicate. A rooster doesn't need to see its rival to know it's nearby. One crow is enough. From an evolutionary perspective, this is incredibly efficient. It conserves energy, reduces injury, and maintains order within and between flocks. Environmental factors also influence when and how often roosters crow, but not always in the way people expect. While sunrise is not the direct trigger, changes in light still matter. As ambient light levels gradually increase before dawn, they reinforce the rooster's internal clock, making crowing more likely. Artificial light can have a similar effect. Roosters kept in barns with timed lighting systems often adjust their crowing schedule to match when lights turn on rather than when the sun rises. This adaptability highlights just how flexible the behavior is. The rooster isn't responding to one specific stimulus. It's integrating multiple cues, internal and external, to decide when to crow. Roosters also crow throughout the day in response to sudden changes in their environment. Loud noise, a passing predator, a new animal entering the area, or even a human walking into the yard can trigger crowing. In these moments, the crow serves as an alert signal. It tells the flock that something has changed and warns other roosters that activity is happening. Morning simply happens to be a time when many of these triggers align. Light is changing, animals are waking up, and movement is increasing. The result is a higher likelihood of crowing clustered around the start of the day. Over thousands of years, humans have developed a strong association between rooster crowing and morning. Long before mechanical clocks existed, people relied on natural signals to mark time. The rooster became one of the most reliable of these signals. Its crow often occurred consistently before sunrise, providing a dependable cue that the workday was about to begin. Farmers, laborers, and travelers all learned to listen for that sound. Over generations, this practical association turned into cultural symbolism. The rooster became a symbol of dawn, vigilance, and renewal. Stories, art, and traditions reinforced the idea that the rooster calls the sun into the sky, even though biologically, the relationship works the other way around. This cultural lens still shapes how we interpret the behavior today. When we hear a rooster crow in the morning, it feels intentional, almost purposeful, as if the bird is performing a duty. That perception isn't entirely wrong. From the rooster's perspective, crowing does serve a purpose. It announces survival. It reinforces status. It signals readiness for the day ahead. What's misleading is the idea that the rooster is reacting only to the sun. In truth, the sun is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. There's also an evolutionary advantage to crowing early. By being active and vocal before full daylight, a rooster gains a head start in establishing territory and social order. Predators are often less active at this time, reducing risk. At the same time, early crowing ensures that rival roosters hear the message before they begin moving around. This timing didn't develop by accident. Over countless generations, roosters whose internal clocks and behaviors aligned with these early hours were more successful at defending territory and passing on their genes. What we hear today is the result of that long process of natural selection fine-tuning behavior to environment. Interestingly, not all roosters crow at exactly the same moment. Even within a single flock, there is variation. Some roosters consistently crow first, others follow, and some remain quieter overall. This variation reflects differences in age, health, hormone levels, and social rank. It also explains why crowing can sometimes feel chaotic rather than perfectly timed. What sounds like randomness is actually a dynamic system of signals overlapping and responding to one another. When you put all of this together, the morning crow stops being a simple reaction and starts looking like a sophisticated form of communication driven by biology, hormones, social structure, and environmental awareness. The rooster isn't just greeting the sunrise. It's responding to an internal clock that's been ticking all night. It's asserting its place in the world. It's signaling to others that a new cycle of activity is beginning. So the next time you hear that unmistakable crow cutting through the early morning quiet, take a moment to listen differently. You're not just hearing a bird react to light. You're hearing the result of millions of years of evolution, a finely tuned biological rhythm, and a social signal that has shaped human life more than we often realize. That single call carries with it a story of timekeeping, survival, and communication woven into the fabric of everyday life. Thank you for watching. If you have an idea for a mystery hiding in plain sight that you'd like us to explore next, drop it in the comments below and we'll be sure to give you a shout-out. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more stories hidden inside the sounds, habits, and moments we usually take for granted.